Hello and welcome to 2022.9. This is the Home Assistant Podcast. Today we're talking about automation UI overhaul, Bluetooth proxies, and Rohan's camera plans. That's me. As usual, we have myself, Rohan, and we've got Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Rohan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. This episode of the Home Assistant Podcast is brought to you by Home Assistant Cloud by Aqara. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and SP Home projects. Configuration is done via the user interface, so no fiddling with router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. 2022.9? Take it away.
That's right. That's right. It's here. September, it's here.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know you weren't on the creator call the other day, Rohan, but you've been traveling. But and I don't know if you've even had a chance to install the beta yet, but this is a massive release for the UI editor in Home Assistant. So I've got the beta running. I'm actually really impressed. They cleaned up the UI editor for automations massively. So now instead of, I don't know if you would have used the original, editor there. You'd go in, it would just be like a wall of panels, right? You'd have triggers, conditions, then your actions. Especially if you're on a phone, and I find if I'm editing a UI, an automation, or I'm doing a beta automation, I should say, the ones that haven't moved over the YAML yet, and I'm editing it on my phone on the fly, I'd have no idea where the triggers and the conditions sort of got separated. So I'd be, going in, I'll change the trigger to, this motion sensor instead. And I'd actually be changing a condition because I just didn't know where in the flow I was. It made no sense. So now everything is sort of collapsed into itself. So, you'll go in and each trigger will be a collapse. And one of the great things they've done this time is there's now how you've got the alias, I guess. If you're using YAML, you can create an alias of a trigger. Home Assistant will now try and generate or tell you in a sentence what each trigger is doing. So let's say you've got, entity ID, living room motion, when it goes on. What that will do now in Home Assistant in the UI, it will say, all right, when there is motion in the living room as a trigger, and it will tell you that as a sentence. So then you know exactly what each trigger is doing, and you can then expand the particular trigger if you need to change it.
Right.
And also conditions are similar, right? So Home Assistant will attempt to generate a one-liner overview of what that condition does. So then it's like you can read an automation, right? So when living room motion is detected, then you go into conditions, and Home Assistant in the UI will say, time is between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Right.
And then the action is, turn on the lights. So that is I think it's one of the biggest changes to that automation editor they've had in a while, and it's going to make the using it so much easier for
that's really nice.
people.
And it sounds like if you're, again, I'm one of those people that your brain shuts off for a second. You're like, oh, I should do this. And I might be, I don't know, not in front of my laptop all the time, right? So I think that might be kind of important for that especially.
Yep.
Or that type of user that, like you said, kind of does all the stuff on their cell phone or on a tablet or something like that. Again, you don't have to do all your stuff on there, just some of it, whatever. So, but that's nice. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's again, I'm not going to say that was very needed. I think the automation editor was pretty good, but I think it did have some, I don't want to call them flaws, but it did have some drawbacks the way it was before, right? So,
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I really think it's a great addition, and good to see that the UI is getting some love, right? Home Assistant's always copped some flack for being, developer centric, and the UI is poor, and it's always just, good to see that the UI is getting a lot of focus, and it does play into that whole make things easier focus that they had this year.
Yeah. I mean, so speaking of UI too, it sounds like they expanded the team a little bit.
So I think we've been talking about mushroom cards.
Yeah. They're fantastic.
They just all of a sudden came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So Paul, the creator of mushroom cards, has joined Aqara, and we'll be working on the front end. So yeah, gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And hopefully there's some really cool stuff in the front end that comes in. Because again, if for those of you that haven't used the Mushroom Cards plugin, it's really, really slick. And so everything is done in UI. You don't need any extra like YAML knowledge or anything like that on the front end. And there's a ton of flexibility in there. There's so many things you can do. So, and everything is nice and like everything's built into its own little card, and like, yeah, it's beautiful. So,
the mushroom cards I think are sometimes better than the default, like the climate card that comes with the mushroom, like more concise and powerful than just the standard climate card, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but that's really cool. All right. Sounds like also there's a weekly schedule, which is kind of cool. So the schedule integration kind of brings in the ability to create a weekly schedule in Home Assistant that can basically make some kind of decision on your automation or script, right? So essentially you go settings, devices, helpers, and then in there you can actually click and add a schedule. So what kind of examples, like what am I doing with those weekly?
So I guess it would be good. Schedules. So you've got like your workday sensor, right? So you could have a schedule like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Yeah. I'm at work. So then, the house should be in this sort of mode, right? Same thing, maybe, if you've got to take out the trash between, 4 p.m. on a Sunday, and, you can put that in your schedule too, right?
Right.
So it's really cool. Like when you want to go in and create a schedule in the UI, you basically get like columns of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you just click and drag the times that you want that schedule to apply for.
Right.
So so you could have things like, I only want my lights to turn on between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. and put that as your schedule, right? And so then in your automations, it just becomes a binary sensor. Is the light schedule on? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm allowed to turn this light on.
Yeah. Okay. Which is, I think that's pretty neat.
Well, I think that's a pretty simple explanation, but I'm sure there's going to be some pretty crazy stuff that people can then use those automations for, or those that new schedule for, right? I'm sure it will empower a lot of different use cases.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Z-Wave has some updates. I think we mentioned this a couple of release episodes ago. So there's now the ability for Home Assistant to push automatic updates to Z-Wave devices or firmware updates. So you can go into the Z-Wave control panel in Home Assistant, and it will actually alert you, hey, this device has an update available, and you can then click a button in Home Assistant, and that will get pushed out through the Z-Wave network into that device. It does require that the manufacturer makes their firmware available to Z-Wave JS, which is the library Home Assistant uses for Z-Wave integrations.
Right.
If they don't make it available to Z-Wave JS, it won't be available as an automatic update availability in Home Assistant.
I wonder what that entails. Like, are they just publishing it and then Z-Wave JS can consume it, or is there a specific like package that they have to upstream to Z-Wave JS?
Yeah, so at the moment, there was we talked about this on the creators chat this week.
Yeah.
So essentially the request is that they upload it somewhere to GitHub, so it's publicly available. But there is flexibility that, if it's, for example, I'm just going to use the brand AOTech because I know it's a Z-Wave manufacturer. If AOTech decides, no, I'm not going to put it on GitHub, but we'll give you the bin files on this, Zendesk URL, there is the ability for the Home Assistant or Z-Wave JS libraries to then point to that URL instead. So as long as the update file is in a publicly accessible area, no logins, has to be literally just take me to the URL, download the file. Home Assistant should be able to download the update.
Right. So there's some kind of a script that goes in the background and just kind of...
Yeah, it will require ZWave.js to maintain a list of firmware versions and devices and where it all points to.
Sure. So I guess they'll have like a manifest of some kind to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's neat. Multi and remote adapter support for Bluetooth. That one kind of speaks for itself. So you can have multiple Bluetooth.
Bluetooth.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty useful because Bluetooth is fairly limited in its range, and again by design, right? So that's what happens now when you're doing a bunch or you want to do things like presence, right? Sorry.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I believe there's some stuff in the works. So the remote stuff, I think, can be using like an ESP device.
Yeah.
So you can have like an ESP device, at the other end of the house, and it will act as if it's a local Bluetooth radio attached to your main Home Assistant instance. So therefore, you can have like proxies running around the house. So, if you've got a plant at the other end of the house and it's only on Bluetooth, now you can use Home Assistant and ESP devices to sort of extend that range.
Yeah, which is amazing. Just because, again, one of the things, I mean, for me as well, just personally, I'm running my stuff on Docker.
Yep.
Again, that's in a container. So again, it's like a pass through with a pass through with a pass through, right? And the machine I'm running it on only has 2 USB ports, and I've got my Zigbee stick, and now I have a Z-Wave stick in there. No more space for Bluetooth unless I start doing things like multi-port, like
USB hubs or something.
But problem there is all the stuff is running on 2.4, so I'm just stacking a bunch of similar radios right next to each other, right? Which I'm trying not to do. Trying to spread out the just distribute where my radios are. Like right now, it's my this sounds really funny, but my Zigbee, my Z-Wave radio is actually plugged into the back of my keyboard, right? Just because I get enough distance from my Zigbee radio. I just don't want them to be right next to each other.
Yeah.
Right. If I can get a little bit of separation, and the keyboard actually just gives me a little more length between where the hubs are, right? So I can keep them separated a little bit.
Have you heard, or do you have in Canada, USB extension cables?
We have, but instead of getting that, my keyboard already had it, so I decided to do that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it worked great. I mean, I literally just needed to have it plugged in, and I didn't really want to buy another cable. So
yeah, totally get it. So Zigbee backup and restore and migration is now available from Home Assistant, so within Home Assistant. So you can now back up your Zigbee network for your device that's plugged in, and then migrate that over to another Home Assistant instance. So this is going to be particularly useful if you have something like a Home Assistant Blue, or you maybe already running a Zigbee network with Home Assistant, and you're waiting for the Home Assistant Yellow to arrive. When that does arrive, you will then be able to easily migrate your Zigbee network from one Home Assistant instance and move it to the next, and then just unplug your stick and put it. It will be migrating your stick. So let's say you've got your Combi Zigbee stick in your Home Assistant Blue, for example. You can then migrate your network over to the embedded chip in the yellow. I believe that's how it's going to work.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought a lot of that stuff was just in the database file, right? Like, isn't there like a Zigbee.db or something like that? So
it's interesting because I also wanted to look at if I could change like from ZHA to Zigbee to MQTT, but it is like so you can't go from like the Home Assistant flavor of Zigbee to MQTT. There's like a difference there.
Right.
But you can migrate from one hardware to another.
Sure.
As long as you've got the same controller software.
So basically that means that you're doing ZHA to ZHA in this case.
Yes.
Could be between different sticks, or could be between different generations of
exactly.
Home Assistant hardware, or going from, again, in my case, Docker to Yellow tomorrow if I go that way, whatever that might be.
Exactly.
That is really cool. Yeah, because I think previously you had to go in and just reset every device and rejoin, repair, whatever, every device.
It's
right?
an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's and Phil, as someone that had to do that before, I guess you're not a big fan. Yeah.
Every time I have to change my even Z-Wave or ZB network, it's just going around clicking buttons everywhere. It's never fun.
Yeah, that's always annoying. But as that is. All right, processor and memory is now in the hardware tab. So if you have Home Assistant hardware or Home Assistant capable hardware, so for example, what's it called? Yellows, blues. I believe it works with Raspberry Pis too if you're running Home Assistant OS.
Interesting.
Right? If I'm not mistaken, I might be very mistaken here. But it's cool to see some of that information there too. I know they were talking about populating that hardware tab a lot more with more useful information. I feel like, I wonder if this would be around in, I haven't seen this I haven't seen the hardware tab in the, in a Docker container version, but I'm not sure. I believe that comes with the supervisor because the supervisor is the underlying OS and it pulls information from there.
I can't see it in, like, I'm running a Docker version and I can't see it here at the moment. So it must, I mean, unless it's hiding from me right now as I'm scrounging around to find it. But I think it's only for if you're running like Home Assistant OS. So not like a Docker sort of environment.
Yeah, which makes sense because I'm not exposing anything from my hardware directly to Home Assistant in this case, right? So it would literally just be a blank, maybe a blank box. So it's kind of pointless.
But now at least you've got, if you are running a Home Assistant Yellow or Home Assistant OS, you can see, graphs and when your CPU is spiking and memory usage. I think it's limited to the last 30 minutes or something from memory. I can't.
Right.
Just so it doesn't overload the browser memory. But at least it gives you some trends on, how your system's performing if you are running into issues. All right, some new integrations. One that sort of I was surprised that I haven't heard of before. It's called BT Home, so bthome.io. It allows custom firmware for some Bluetooth devices. And this will now work with the Bluetooth Home Assistant integration. I think we've had a few people talking, and they're always on the forums. They've got those Xiaomi Aqara Bluetooth humidity temperature sensors that have got like an LCD display. So they apparently you can flash them with this custom BT Home firmware, and then it will allow Home Assistant to then directly integrate those devices as opposed to needing a Xiaomi Bluetooth library. There's a few other devices that are supported as well. And it also allows you to create your own DIY BLE sensor as well. So I think there's a lot to come out from this integration. So it'll be interesting to see where we're going to go from here.
Interesting. So because I see I'm just on their website right now. So projects using BT Home or Home Assistant, that ATC, Xiaomi, the Mi thermometer, and the B parasite soil and moisture sensor, right? Which I've actually looked at before. So that's actually kind of cool. One of the things that kind of turned me off from it at that time was the B parasite sensors are. It's just that it was in Zigbee. Yep. Bluetooth are it'll be a little bit annoying to.
Yeah, it's just the range, especially if you want like something out in the garden, something, right? Like.
Yeah, but between the remote, the ability to have remote Bluetooth sensors now in Home Assistant and this, I think that might be kind of cool. I mean, I'm guessing you can't do both, but maybe you can. Oh, actually, no, you could. Because it's integrated natively, right? So it'll pull the Bluetooth stack in there. So so I guess you can, which is pretty neat. All right, next, Escea, and I think that's how to pronounce it. ESCEA.
Escea? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Escea. I don't know. But it allows the monitoring and control of local fireplaces for that brand. So they're manufactured in New Zealand and sold in both Australia and New Zealand. So there you go, Phil. You'll be nice and warm in the winter.
Yeah, so I was surprised to see this is a brand I've looked at.
Yeah.
Only because they do have like really nice fireplaces, and I knew that they had some sort of remote, like if it's not integrated with Home Assistant, I'm not going to bother with it, right? I don't have to hack RF protocols or wires. I think at the Home Assistant conference last year, there was a guy that like hacked his fireplace live at the conference or something as a demo. I'm like, I'm not that confident of burning. I don't want to burn my house down, right? But yeah, so these are cool. Unfortunately for me, it's only the gas fireplaces that have the smart module that this can work with. Just personal preference. I'm trying to move away from gas. So yeah. But otherwise, if you do have one of those devices, you do need to plug it into a Ethernet jack. It doesn't support Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So as long as your fireplace is connected through Ethernet, you should be able to then control it with Home Assistant. So
interesting. I wonder why they would opt to do wired in. I guess because typically around fireplaces you have like metal flashing and stuff, so maybe it acts as a barrier.
I assume so. I don't know if the fireplaces support Wi-Fi, and if they do, then it's just not enabled. Like you can't do it like as a security measure.
Yeah.
Or if it is, they don't have Wi-Fi in them because of the, as you said, like the metal housing, and they just we're not going to put a Wi-Fi radio in it. But they do. You must have an Ethernet jack plugged in to your fireplace to be able to control it with Home Assistant at this stage.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Here's something that I'm glad to see. It's Fully Kiosk now has an official integration with Home Assistant. So I've got some Amazon Fire tablets that I haven't stuck back up on my wall, but I was using Fully Kiosk for a while, and there was a Home Assistant community add-on created by Cigar Wood, I believe the username is. So that is there's now an official integration. It's created by the same author as the community add-on. So it's now official. You don't have to install hacks to get it. It's properly in Home Assistant. And so it should give you the same features, be able to control your device. I think it adds entities into Home Assistant, so you can, turn the screen off, turn it on. Great. If you've got, Android tablets and you're going to mount them as a control for Home Assistant, then fully recommend Fully Kiosk browser.
Yeah, it's very popular. Even in communities, Reddit, like I see it all the time. All right, the Landis&Gyr Gear. This is the second one, 2 for 2. Gyr GYR Landis plus GYR heat meter. So that integration essentially allows you to read the meter from their ultra heat devices by that brand. So it's usually used for district heating, right? So that's pretty handy. Get some monitoring in there.
LED BLE. So this is an integration. It's a generic integration that will bring in multiple brands of Bluetooth low energy LED devices. And you can use them through the Bluetooth integration now. So there's a lot of names, and they include LED Net, BLE LED, LED BLE. There's Triones and LED Blue. And they've got a whole bunch of brands as well. So Happy Lighting, Zengi, Zengi maybe, LED Blue. There's a whole bunch. So Zerproc, chances are, if you've got a Bluetooth bulb, you may get a little notification say, hey, we've discovered a new device around your house. Do you want to connect it up?
That's super cool. All right, here's 3 for 3 of stuff I can't pronounce. I'm going to pronounce it as Kingping, but it's QINGPING.
I would have gone Quingping, but okay, I'll take it.
I kind of like Kingping, like Kingpin, like the bad guy. Why not? Have a lot of fun with it. So, essentially it integrates that brand of device into Home Assistant. So they've got, I guess these are product names, but I guess descriptive enough product names because that's what they do. Air monitor light, alarm clocks, BT clock, Bluetooth, I'm missing, clock light, door window sensors, Lee guitars, thermal hygrometer, motion and ambient light sensors, temperature, and relative humidity sensors too. So that's cool. Again, a lot more Bluetoothy kind of stuff coming in. A lot more, monitoring, like air monitoring and quality, temperature, humidity, that kind of stuff. So cool.
I think just bringing in Bluetooth as a first-class citizen integration into Home Assistant is unlocking all these, brands and types of devices that were just so like blocked to Home Assistant, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's just been such a backup of these devices, right? Where now that it has the ability to do Bluetooth, it's like, great, let's actually do that. So which is pretty nice.
Because previously you had to get, like, if it was a Bluetooth, you'd have to get a hub, and then the hub would talk to the cloud, or wouldn't be
totally.
Yeah, but now that these devices can just, like, I'm guessing, sniff the Bluetooth traffic and then create integration from it, makes it so much better. Wireless temperature sensors from ThermoPro and ThermoBeacon, both Bluetooth based, are also available in Home Assistant. And Rohan, I'll give you the next one because I'm hoping you can pronounce this brand.
Yeah, it's Yale. No, it's
Yale?
it's the Yale Access Bluetooth products, and now being brought in, and it also includes with that same integration, it includes some support for August smart locks as well. So, which is pretty nice. So again, a lot more love for Bluetooth here as well. So which is pretty sweet. So good to see that.
All right, some breaking changes. HomeKit. So the PM 2.5, I don't even know what that measurement unit is. Essentially,
micrograms per meters cubed, I think. Yeah,
something like that. Anyway, it's how it tells you, like, if the air quality is good or bad. They've made some changes to it. It's now based on the United States Air Quality Index, set by the Environmental Protection Authority in the US. So, I think Home Assistant will now say, it's low, medium, moderate, based on different thresholds, not the standard or not the scale that it was using before. So if you are using air quality in your home through HomeKit, and you are relying on, how good the air quality is in a room, the values may slightly change, or what Home Assistant is reporting the quality of the room is might slightly vary in this release.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's for the sake of standardization, right? So that's nice.
Yeah.
Roku. So the Roku media player will now indicate idle instead of home when you're at the home screen. So you can still detect that it's on the home screen by looking at the app ID attribute. But if you don't do that, just know that that's what it shows.
And the utility meter. So the utility meter entities used to change tariffs have been removed. So you now need to move to the provided select entity instead. I don't know much about, the energy dashboard is still eluding me a little bit. I've got it reporting my energy. I had it reporting how much money, like how much the cost in my house was. That was working out well. That was via integration with my electricity company. I would be able to get the current tariff from their API.
Yeah.
I don't know now, is that no longer supported? I'd have to do some digging around. I did also, while I was playing with my energy dashboard last month, I'm just going to make a bit of a tangent here while I'm here. One of the things that I wanted to be able to do was, because I've got my, my dishwasher, I've got with the PowerCalc integration that we talked about last episode, is reporting, how much cost, like how much energy my Philips Hue bulb's using. I've got the dishwasher, washing machine, but the energy dashboard doesn't tell you the cost associated with each device. So I can see, for example, today my house cost me $10 in electricity, right?
Sure.
But I can't see that the dishwasher cost me $2 to run, and the washing machine cost me $5 to run. Even though
it gives you a roll up instead of a breakdown.
Yeah, so I can see the whole house usage, and I can see how much the whole house cost.
Sure.
But I can't see how much the individual devices cost, even though Home Assistant has the data there.
Interesting.
Well, from my understanding.
I wonder if that's just a Is that just a you thing?
It's just a meeting. Well, no, I thought so.
Yeah.
And no, there's been some feature requests on the Home Assistant forum. So
Okay.
I'm
expose
hoping that, Home Assistant's going to do Hacktoberfest, and if I can encourage anyone to add that feature, I would very much appreciate it.
I think your hope for Hacktoberfest is just you're going to get some choice words from Frank there. Just,
yeah. I know Frank's got a love-hate relationship with Hacktoberfest because of all the extra pull requests that come through.
No,
but that's my rant. I do hope to see, the ability for Home Assistant to, just report on the cost of, individual devices. I think that would be a massive benefit as well.
Yeah, agreed. And as usual, there's a ZWebJS version bump too. So
you'll need that just to do that firmware update stuff. So
yeah. All right. So that brings us to the end of the breaking changes. Well,
what's bring next, us to the start of this?
Oh no.
All right. CloudStrikes again. So we've actually got two. So I'll start with the first one. Smart Tap, which was acquired by Masco. Their REST API has been in maintenance for a few months. So George emailed us feedback at haspodcast.io with a heads up for that. It sounds like, I think, were they a Kickstarter or something? I think I did
I don't know. I'm not familiar with Smart Tap, like the brand themselves, right? But it's that theme of they get acquired, and this isn't just the small guys or anything like that. I mean, we've seen Google do this kind of crap quite often too, right? I mean, sure, maybe they handled it a little better. And communicated that, hey, you know what, there's some Nest stuff happening and you got to wait. But again, typical Google fashion, they went back and forth. just as they do with everything. But in this case, I mean, it sounds like they're being fairly unresponsive to the community as well. And I think, when you're as big as a Google, you can do that and still be somewhat successful. When you're a smaller company, I don't know if that's the best idea. And in George's email, he kind of described that, hey, these aren't cheap, right? These devices are fairly expensive. And he bought his, I believe, not super, super long ago, right? Where, you kind of want this device to last forever, right? And, or as long as it can until something physically goes wrong with it. But this kind of thing is, I don't know, I mean, as with most other CloudStrikes, again, thanks. It irks me quite a bit, but just at least fine. If there's stuff that you're doing, you can build it in parallel and then transition over, right? You don't have to, hey, let me shut this down and then do everything. And again, maybe there's some stuff they were doing that was related to cost, or there was related to something like that, but streamline in a way that it works for the users.
The in maintenance does concern me. That's generally a sign of, oh, we found a security flaw, we can't fix it, let's just pull it down so no one can use it and hack their way into things, right? And then it just becomes, why should we fix it? It costs too much money. Just keep it in maintenance.
Yeah. And I mean, anything is fixable with enough money thrown at it, right? So
always, yeah.
But again, that's why people have things like developer programs and so on and so forth, right? So that you can actually start to do, there's a nice and easy standardized way of doing this, right? Like, I think especially with APIs and stuff like that, like it's entirely possible to do that. It's just, you just need to do it.
Yep.
And fine, that might mean you need to restructure it. You might need to do whatever, but you can transition into that, right? It doesn't have to be. Maybe that means it's a higher priority thing now because, hey, this is costing us a lot of money. Fine. So let me prioritize my API development over other things there, right? So.
All right. And so should we play the music again for the second one? What do you reckon?
Let's just jump into it. It's just depressing at this point.
Go for it. What's this one?
So the smart dry laundry sensor is getting bricked. So Daniel Whitkin in the Home Assistant Facebook group talked about that one as well. But luckily, at least there is somebody in the Home Assistant forums mentioned using an ESP32 to gain local control of those devices.
Ooh, nice.
So that's kind of cool. But at least there's somewhat of an alternative here, right? But again, I feel like it's also a hack way of doing it.
Yeah, you got to buy an ESP32, which the average consumer is not going to do.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, I've already spent whatever on this. I don't want to spend more to have to keep it working.
Yeah.
Right. Back to my earlier point. So.
Yeah. What? So it's just like it's just a power monitor as well. Like.
Yeah.
There's like you can just do that with any old power monitor and some Home Assistant templates. Check out my blog if you want to get some automations to do it. Like.
Yeah.
It's why those things need to go through the cloud really frustrate me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a way of you plug your dryer or whatever into there, and then basically it's just actually I'm just looking at this right now. Now my phone alarm goes off naturally. So I'm looking at this at their website right now. So it's connectedlifelabs.com. And it's I don't know how yours are, but it looks like it's a standard like 120 volt, like 3-pin adapter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's available.
A lot of dryers 4-pin, maybe, depending on, I guess gas ones might not be, but
I don't know.
Electric ones, I thought were, because you have the dryer at least here.
Yeah.
You have a dryer outlet, which is a 4-pin that you kind of like click, turn, lock kind of thing, right? But
no, I haven't seen that down here.
I don't know, but okay, so maybe this is maybe that's me. Maybe I made that up, but regardless, it literally looks the same as a little Belkin Wemo Mini.
Exactly. That's what
right?
That's exactly what it looks like. You're right. Like that is a little Belkin Wemo Mini rebranded with a cloud dependent device on it. I think the way they were able to get with an ESP32 might be Bluetooth as well. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a different thing I'm thinking of.
Maybe.
Hang on. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I don't know. That'd be kind of like, why would you make that a Bluetooth device? Because it's like at that point, I need a hub.
Yeah.
To have. I mean, how many dryers would I have at home?
Well, because it seems like this is connecting through like a phone app. And it says compatible with the Amazon Echo. We are spending too much time on a
these people don't
cloud device that is going downhill. So don't buy it.
Fix your crap, people.
Yeah. But I do want to now. I want to bug you a little bit. So you sent me a message a couple of weeks ago now, probably just before a week ago, just before you went away. You set up a camera finally. I've been bugging you for like ages about like cameras, and
it's happened, people. You can put down the pitchforks.
So the camera brand, I think you got it from work, so I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about hardware wise. But tell me, I want to find out, like, so how have you gone about, I guess, like one, how is it? Is it a PoE camera? Is it like Wi-Fi? How you got power to it?
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
So it is a PoE camera. These cameras are kind of cool. They're outdoor. They're again, like you said, Phil. It's I try and separate my work and podcast stuff and everything. I'm not here to advertise that stuff, but it's a PoE camera. It's got a heater built in, so especially for the winters and stuff like that, it's kind of nice.
Got a heater built in.
Yeah. So and essentially, I have it plugged in and it's all done. That's all done through PoE. Yep. So that's on the outside of my garage. On the inside of my garage, I've actually got a PoE switch that powers it. Today, that PoE switch actually is run through a wireless bridge. So I have an access. I have a access point for those of you that are watching on video behind me in my closet. You can't really see it, but
it's behind there.
Trust me, it's diagonally above me. And there's an access point in the garage as well. So that basically works as a bridge to say,
yep,
hey, convert that wireless down to a wired connection. I do have a fiber cable that I've bought that I want to run to that switch. I just haven't. I don't have an SFP for it yet, so to plug the fiber cable in. So the SFP is the little module that you use on the switch to plug it in. So I don't have that, but yeah.
So you up there, is Rohan up there in the crawl space, running Ethernet cables to the camera outside, or did you have to get someone in to do that?
No, I actually ended up getting lucky. So the way my garage is structured, so the front of my garage, so this is just above my garage door. So the front of my garage, there's this like wood panel in front of it. Nice. Just above it. And annoyingly, that actually goes right behind into a iron, like a T-bar or I-bar or whatever they're called.
Yep.
Which is a support for my double car garage door, right? So I drilled the wood. I'm like, let's see what's back here. So drilled a hole into it, and next thing you know, I hit that, right? I hit the flashing, which I could drill through. That wasn't a problem. Yep. And then I hit the iron bar. Then I just fished around that bar because I looked on the side of it, and there's a gap. I'm like, great, I'll just run some fish tape through there. And then the rest of my garage is unfinished on the inside. So, right now the cable's just hanging there. It's actually on my to-do today rather it's on my wife's to-do today for me, is to clean that up and essentially just tack the wire to the garage just so it looks a little bit nicer.
Yep.
And it's just plugged into the switch there. So I just had to terminate the cable. And then, yeah.
Nice.
So a buddy of mine came over and we both just kind of just explored, how to do this together. And we were like, oh my God, this is so simple. Just drill a hole, poke it through, run it to the side and terminate the cables. Yeah.
It's nice when projects work out that way.
Yeah.
How have you gone integrating it with Home Assistant? Like, can you see the feed live? Is it like a standard RTSP stream that you can then hook up into Home Assistant, or?
Yeah. So I can. So I haven't done it with that camera yet. I've got a couple of my other, like I said, I do use these for work, for testing and stuff like that. So my other lab cameras that are literally there are two of them right next to each other in my basement, just so I can play with stuff, break it, whatever. So one is a fisheye camera and one is a standard just fixed lens. Actually, it's a varifocal lens camera. So I just have those next to each other again just to play with. Those are in with RTSP, but some of the cool things is these cameras do have some analytics built-in on board. So they can do things like people detection on board. They can do things like lux levels, like for light and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and all of those come in through MQTT. So I actually do have those talking in to that. They also do things like siren detection and stuff like that. So all of that stuff comes in through MQTT. And I essentially, there's a blog that a good friend of mine, Alex Berger, made talking about, how to basically build all of this stuff in using Node-RED. And so we went through and figured out, how MQTT device discovery works and stuff like, or MQTT discovery works. So at first we had a bunch of entities. Then we realized that, hey, bringing all this together, we can actually bring the entities into a device in Home Assistant, and how you can bring it all together. One of the things I would love to see though is, because we're trying to do it programmatically. So where you add it to the management piece, again, like I said, these are meant for not for consumers. These are more meant for enterprise grade kind of cameras, right? So there's a management platform behind it. But so far we're at the point where we add it, and literally once you add a camera, all of the stuff, it just shows up. That's so cool. The one thing I can't do is RTSP, because MQTT discovery doesn't actually support an RTSP stream today for cameras.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I think that's one of the things that both Alex and I are kind of like, hey, we'd love to see that, some of that. So so that is what I've done with those cameras and how we're bringing them in. If there's
So
interest, again, shoot us an email at feedback@housepodcast.io, and I could kind of dig deeper into that. But sorry.
Yeah. So they've still got people detection on the camera, like lux levels. Is there any like external things that you want to be able to do? Like you're going to bring you're going to buy one of those Google, what's that called? Frigate.
Yeah.
Devices. What's everyone the Coral?
Coral for the GPU, right? The tensor processing unit, whatever it's called. Yeah. I was thinking about it. I don't know if, even if I did want to do a bunch of stuff. So backtrack a little bit. Those cameras do have TensorFlow built into it.
Okay.
TensorFlow Lite under the covers, right? So I can go in and upload a custom CV model and do whatever. So that is pretty cool there. So I haven't figured out if I actually need to do that yet. I mean, do I want to do that? Sure. But again, I've also had a great track record of following through with stuff I said I'm going to do. So, but yeah, I mean, now I can actually do some of those things, right? But even if I did want to do something, again, like from an image processing perspective, one of the things I Phil still gives me crap about is doing detection for like FedEx or UPS or Canada Post or whoever.
Yeah, can you upload a custom TensorFlow to your camera for the FedEx logo?
I can actually do that, but
nice.
But I don't know if I would. I would probably do that offline, like not on the camera. Just because I want to learn that piece, right? Because anybody can upload the custom CV file to the camera. That's easy enough. But for me, it's like I want to learn the process of it, which is why originally I wanted to do that, and I thought that'd be an interesting use case for me too.
What would be, so obviously these are enterprise grade cameras. What would the use case in enterprise be for someone being able to upload like custom models to the cameras? Like, are there use cases for it? Like, is there like, I'm just trying to think of a use case here off the top of my head. Like, could there be like a manufacturing company that would upload when a machine's broken, it's smoke, would they upload that sort of potential into the camera? Like, is that why there is the ability?
That's actually a use case, but kind of following that manufacturing theme as well. Depending on what you upload, you can also pull in. Again, it's from in an enterprise world. This is business data, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you can also pull in to say, hey, you know what? How does how do certain things look when they come off the manufacturing line? So potential defect detection, things like that. So now it's how do I take a security camera that's effectively a dead investment until something happens.
Yep.
But how do I make that a little more productive? So that's kind of the idea. So again, in manufacturing lines or even outside, whatever that is, this is in no way meant to be a pitch. Again, I don't really care if you go out and buy these cameras or not.
I'm just fascinated, like how, because I'm sure, like just you and me talking about this, right? I'm sure there's someone at home thinking, oh, well, if like they could use it in the enterprise world, like I've got a use case at home, right? Like that would be similar.
Absolutely, right. And there's a whole bunch of different things there where it's like, again, if you are doing certain things, maybe it's there's probably more efficient ways to do this, but I'm thinking, great, you're 3D printing something. Right. Yeah. And the 3D printer is done. I mean, maybe for whatever reason you don't have Octopi or whatever on there too. Right. Or it's done or it's stopped or it's deformed or whatever that is. Well, great. Uploading a model might help you solve that. Depending, again, it might be something that you have to do like a repetitive task.
Yep.
Right. So that it's the same thing that it sees over and over again kind of thing. But, I don't know what that looks like, but just example off the top of my head. Right. But yeah, that's what it does, and it's what I did with that. I mean, at the end of the day, all I've done is mount it and plug it in, right? So,
have you had any use cases for it though? Like at the moment, like have you, apart from just obviously logging in and saying, oh yeah, I've got a camera there now, I can see the driveway. What have you got? Any has it helped you in any way so far?
Actually, it's this is gross, but it's actually not me. So my sales I was actually talking to him yesterday, before the end of the day, and and he's got the same, and he's worked for this group quite a bit longer than I have. So I actually backfilled his position. So he used to be an architect as well before he went to the dark side. And he's got a couple of these mounted in the front of his house. And his neighbor was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Whatever. They look outside, and there's a newspaper laid down on the on his grass,
right?
And there's dog poop on it. And they're like, what? This is like, did they lay the newspaper down and get the dog to poop on it? Like, what is going on?
Like,
who did this? And so he reached out to my sales counterpart, and one of the things you could do as well is motion search, right? So I can like not obviously not in the Home Assistant, not within Home Assistant, but in the actual dashboard platform behind it. So he kind of searched that specific area to see, hey, where do I see motion here on this day between this time, whatever.
Yeah.
And you see this lady walk up with her dog. Dog is standing, whatever. She's holding this newspaper full of poop, lays it down, and then just continues walking and like does the second look, right? Be like, oh, did anyone catch me doing this?
Did anyone see me do that? What?
And then walks away. I literally can't make this up. I'll show you the video offline, folks, just because again, from a privacy perspective, I don't want to publish that, but it's the fun. And this literally, he showed me this yesterday, and I was cracking up. And but it's also just shows how inconsiderate some people are. I think the dog did this at some point, and she was just like, I don't want to carry this anymore. And she just didn't have a bin
nearby, yeah, right. Like,
and this guy's this guy's like front lawn looks like a great place to put this down. So I know you asked me how this has solved my problem, but it was just so my sales guy just exported this video and went, dude, I don't know how to explain this to you, and just kind of gave it to him. So I mean, from my perspective though, my next door neighbor actually, somebody tried to steal her car at like 4 a.m.
Oh wow!
And it was one of those like where like they came over with a tablet, tried to repeat the signal from her keys, and they actually were able to get the door unlocked. They just weren't able to get the car started. And some guy was walking his dog. He had to go to work early.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Like, which mind you is super brave.
Yeah,
because there was 4 dudes there, right? And he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Like, get away from that car."
Yeah.
And they looked at him and they just kind of ignored him and kept going. And then he called the police, and the police came, and that's how they even found out all of this stuff happened. Right. So
I always hear about like, those signal repeaters. I'm like, nah, it's got to be another country. Can't be real, right? But maybe it's
right next door to me. And I was just like, wow, okay, I can't like, and that's the thing, right? It can happen to anyone, anywhere. But the point here is this going to stop anything? No, but it might help insurance. It might help something, right? Like it's both.
It's also a deterrent, right? Just if someone sees a camera up in that corner, they're like, okay, maybe I'll go to another house. Might be easier to go to another house. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a huge deterrent, right? So, and it helps. Again, depending on where you live, it might help bring insurance rates down and stuff like that too. So, I don't know. Like I said, these are also cameras for my testing environment too. So it's multi-purpose, right? So, but
nice.
Enough about me. I know you said you got some new gadgets. What's going on?
So we've had. I know. I'm sorry. Well, you've been busy, so I haven't had a chance to really talk to you. So we had Rose on. We've had. I've seen everywhere these Aqara like human presence sensors. The radar ones, right? I guess probably the closest analogy I can think of is radar. So I bought like 7 of these things. There was like an AliExpress sale that I waited for. But I also got one of these standard, I'm sure everyone has, my camera's not going to show it for people watching online, but it's a standard Xiaomi Aqara Zigbee presence sensor.
Okay.
Because I've been complaining for ages, right? Like how slow my Z-Wave motion sensors are, right?
Yeah.
I walk into a room, I walk down, or even the hallway, right? Like walked halfway down the hallway. By the time I'm out of the hallway, the lights are finally turned on.
Yeah.
So, like, I think literally 24 hours since we started recording this, I stuck this thing up. So I got one on sale. I'm like, I'm just going to test it, right? So stuck it up right next to the Z-Wave one in the hallway. And then I used the counter integration in Home Assistant. And using the automation, I was able to then just have the one automation, but it would trigger based on the Zigbee motion sensor and the Z-Wave motion sensor. And whichever one triggered first would increment the counter. So I could tell how many times the Z-Wave sensor triggered first and how many times the Zigbee sensor picked up motion first.
Interesting. A little bit of A/B testing. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because I need to, like, am I going nuts? Is it just, maybe it's something else, right? But sure enough, so for the past 24 hours, the Zigbee sensor picked up motion first 21 times and the Z-Wave motion sensor only once.
Wow.
I think, so that shows me just how much slower the Z-Wave motion sensor is compared to the Zigbee one.
Does that have to do with, like, is it just like a protocol level delay? Like it actually just takes that long to process it?
I don't know. So
because that doesn't seem right. I'm sure all these people have
absolutely
Z-Wave motion sensors that act instantly, right?
They've got it. So I think it maybe it's a branding. So the Z-Wave motion sensor I've got is like an AOTech 4-in-1. It's probably ancient now, right? It's a big ball. They're years old, very old, like probably one of the original Z-Wave protocols. So it most likely has that to do with it. It's also battery powered. So I can see, like, as I'm walking down, it takes a few seconds for the light to flash to say it's detecting motion.
Sure, but
maybe it's sensitivity issues, but it is a common theme amongst all the rooms I've got. Like if I make them too sensitive, then just the wind blowing and creating shadows can set things off. So
yeah, I mean the sensitivity part I get, right? But like I don't know. I have a motion sensor, which again it's a SmartThings motion sensor, Zigbee. First generation, I think, of their motion sensors, right? They were like the big blocky cube ones. I got a bunch more of their newer ones after, but I think it's okay. One thing I got to say though is just complete sidebar. The battery life on that thing is insane. I think I change it once, maybe like every 15 months or something like that. Yeah. Whereas the rest of them I've changed twice by the time I changed this one once.
Yep.
But even that is fairly instant. Right. Like if I'm looking, and I've actually done this test where I've looked at Home Assistant on my cell, I'll wave and it'll go off.
Yep.
Pretty much instantly. Right. Maybe like a very, very, very tiny delay, but so that seems, and that is 7+ years old.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. But the upshot is, that little Xiaomi sensor, it's so much smaller as well, physically smaller.
Which is nice.
I was annoyed at that. So there's actually 2 versions of this sensor. There's a new one out that uses 2 batteries, and apparently the battery life on that thing could last like 5 years, right? But for whatever reason, I can only get the single battery model at the moment. So maybe I'll only get like 1 or 2 years battery life, which
that's still pretty good.
That's pretty good, right? For just a single button cell battery too.
Wow. Okay. That's actually really like 2032 or whatever.
Yeah. Something, I think it may be a bit bigger. It seems really like wide and chunky. Yeah. But I'll take it. So that was my little A/B test result past 24 hours. So I think that sort of put the nail in the coffin for some of these Z-Wave sensors I've got around the house. Eventually I'll probably try and sell them and then just change over to these Zigbee motion sensors, like the Xiaomi. They're pretty standard. But coming back to the human presence sensors, they are amazing. I think it took me a little bit to sort of understand, how it all works and position them right. But it's even, I've got one in the bedroom and it's enough to pick up my 2-year-old daughter asleep in the bed. Just her breathing. It knows that she's in the room. So pretty impressed. I do have the only complaint I have is the cord length. So you have to, it's not battery powered. You have to plug it into USB power, and they don't give you, it's like a hardwired USB cord, right? So you got to.
Oh, so it's not a bring your own like USB-C that you can get whatever length you feel like.
No, so I have
can
to
you use some kind of an extension? Is that a?
Yeah, but so then the issue is, right, so you got like whatever length it is, like 0.8 meters, 0.8 meters of a cord, right? But then you've got the USB-A jack at the end of it. So then if you're running the cord down a wall, you're going to have to then have the USB extension cable halfway there to meet it. That's the annoying thing. So I'll have to do some creative wiring around the rooms for it, but and some maybe some capping for like some cord cover tubes to hide the.
Yeah, you're going to be one of those people with USB ports on the ceiling of your house, and people. You go to sell the house, people are like, what the hell is this guy thinking?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's already coming to that, right? Like to power some blinds up there, and yeah. So may as well should do it. But yeah, so that was my, I guess, my new gadgets, and I've got a whole bunch of Z-Wave dimmers I'm going to put around the house soon. So finally get some light automations happening.
What dimmers did you get?
So I went the Fabaro Z-Wave.
Fabaro,
Yep, with some momentary like push button switches.
Interesting.
The push button switches, I got ones that you can change icons on the switches. So now you can tell like what is the kitchen light, what is the TV, like what's the living room, because it's got a little couch on the button.
Yeah. So is it like a sticker that you just put on there, or is it like an actual screen?
It's like because there's a LED behind it. So when you look at it, like you can actually just replace the actual the plastic bit that you push. This just comes with a standard, little hole that emits the blue light out of it.
Okay.
But now, these ones have got little pictograms on it. So, like a knife and fork for the kitchen, just, adds a little bit of, just so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whoever wired the switches up in this house has put the living room and the dining room at the complete, like, illogical opposite ends of where you would want them to be on that little 3-gang box. When I get when I'm going to get that replaced, I will get those switched around, and now we'll know exactly what button does what.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's that's actually really cool. So you go in, you can just say, "Hey, this is the kitchen light. It prevents confusion," right? Like,
yeah.
I remember my dad, like even in their old place, there was a few switches, and everybody always flips like we had a motion sensor light outside, and then we had just the inside hallway lights or whatever. It was on the same gang, like in the 2 or 3 gang, whatever switch box. Everybody would always hit the motion sensor light, which then reset the stupid light.
Yeah, and then you turn it back on and it turns the lights on, but it won't turn the lights off until motion's been not detected out there. So then you have to walk out there and
then there's like a mode where it's like if you did it fast enough that it's like a hey, stay on kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So we'd had our lights stay on like all night one time, and my dad again, it was like, oh my God, we spent so much money on these lights, whatever, right? And it's just annoying. So the result was, let's go pull out the what's it called? The label maker, and then stick these ugly labels like hall light and like whatever, right?
Yeah.
And even like in my grandparents' house from when they were alive, it was the same thing. Like in their apartment, it was ceiling light, ceiling fan, like whatever, and the old ribbon, like the punch-out tape kind of things. I don't know what they're called, but.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
but this is a much cleaner, nicer way of doing it. I wonder if there's like the ability to 3D print or something your own like little plastic cover thing for it, right? That might be kind of cool.
Probably
so you can
is.
get some custom ones.
Yeah, that would be pretty handy actually. The only I guess it's all like down here, like the nanny state, right? So it's an electrical device, so it probably would have to pass some sort of certification testing before I can put it on the wall.
Which makes sense. But you guys need an electrician for everything.
Yeah, because it's all 240 volt.
Or
electricity.
Sparky.
Yeah,
So,
we need Sparky. That's it.
I've learned.
Yep, you got the lingo.
That's right.
That's it. All right. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap. Yep. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
If you want to share your Home Assistant journey or come on as a guest, reach out to us at feedback@haspodcast.io. That's HASS podcast.io.
The Home Assistant Podcast is hosted by Phil Hawthorne and myself, Rohan Karamandi. For links to topics we discussed today, check out our show notes on haspodcast.io.